All right, we're going to be talking about a hidden science today, something that has always existed, just hasn't really been focused on, I would say, by your English teacher, by your school teachers, whatever it's going to be. We're going to break down the systems that shape your mind, your money, and believe it or not, your future, which is probably going to immediately label me as some sort of wacko palm reading, like tarot card predicting guy, right? And I've always like shunned those people too out of my life. I've always said that's crazy. But to be honestly, nowadays, what seems craziest is actually the most believable. I'm not pulling out tarot cards, don't worry. But today's topic is probably the most dangerous one we've talked about yet, which is why do companies like Netflix, for instance, know you better than your therapist? And how have they hacked your brain to understand the way you think better than you can even write down on paper? If that sounds interesting at all, let's get into it. Here's the insane reality. Netflix has more accurate data about your emotional state than any human professional ever will throughout the rest of your life. That's my bold claim today. I'm going to back it. Therapists get words a lot of times. Netflix gets your behaviors. They get the raw data. What's up, by the way? Nicholas, what's up? Can't read all these names. Tycon Barber, Andrus on Instagram, what's up? Everybody on TikTok and Rumble, by the way. I forgot to shout out to you guys, but glad you're here watching. You hopped in really quickly. There's a difference between what you say and what you do. We've all known that, right? And so understanding that although you don't know you're doing it, your expressions, your patterns of action are all formed by your emotions and your body's responses to the environment. And a lot of times are things you can't control, your micro expressions, your habits, your patterns, right? Your therapist might guess that you're depressed, but Netflix knows it because you just binge watch 12 hours of comfort comedies or something like that on a Tuesday night. I don't know, Anthony, have you ever realized, let's just talk about like probably more general, right? Your feed. How quickly does your feed seem to like adapt based on your pattern?
The one I notice the most is the advertisements I get. Can't tell you how many times I've just been, is what's crazy too is like talking about things, but I'll also just think about things I think I might need to buy or like look or research about. And then like within a day, I'll see an advertisement for it on my feed somewhere, Instagram, YouTube. And that one always gets me because I'm like, I didn't even say the words, you know what I mean? I didn't even say the words new microphone. But for some reason, I just got my first microphone ad after thinking about wanting one like the day before. So the ads get me all the time.
Yeah. They don't know. They don't just know though that you're like tired or that you're anxious. They monetize it. Like their goal is to make money off it. So a lot of times it's not just that you see the videos from it too. Like yesterday, I went on this whole bender about. I was watching like a conspiracy theory video, and then it led me into. It was about forever chemicals in like the stuff we use every day. How there's probably a big correlation between toilet paper and the chemicals in there that you literally wipe your ass with, and the fact that most men are getting colon cancer because they're putting forever chemicals on your ass. Like as harsh as I can word that, we're pretty much poisoning us, right? Because our skin is the most absorbent organ we have, and no wonder you're going to get cancer from doing things like that. So it led me into this like pattern of thought, like how much forever chemical crap are we putting on our bodies? And then immediately I open Instagram and I get this ad for like organic plant-based toilet paper. I'm like, I almost bought it. Like I was like, I need this. And like it was like
That's the crazy thing. It's not even like outlandish stuff they're offering.
yeah, you thought you were watching Instagram or Netflix, but Netflix has been watching you deeper, and it's this gate kept psychology that they're targeting. And again, like I knew that they were doing this to me, and I still almost bought it. I usually would go on Amazon or something to try to compare prices, but like I wouldn't have started researching it. I wouldn't have cared enough to start researching it unless it put it on my feed like that. So they're good at what they do, but psychology, right? Skinner studied operant conditioning, which is reward schedules that basically had a simulated experiment with rats that every time they like pressed a button or this like lever thing, they would get fed. Kind of like Pavlov's dog in a way. But Netflix was the same thing with episodes. Every time you click this episode versus this one, you're routing your like training algorithm in a certain direction, so you're gonna get more of that data. That's the same way Instagram works. We talked about that. I talked about this in like my normal style YouTube videos too, but the Zygarnik effect is a very big one. I mentioned this multiple times, but unfinished stories are more memorable than finished ones. Cliffhangers, right, are like psychological torture that keep you thinking about like how the show is going to end, even when you're offline. You've seen this. I don't know if you can remember any big shows you watched as like growing up that had cliffhangers that would end. Do you know any that would kind of carry the lore between episodes a lot of times?
I don't know. I know for sure like Marvel movies growing up, like the ones that had sequels down the line, like the Avengers for sure.
Yeah, I watched like I was thinking more like Netflix shows. Like I know like The Flash and the Green Arrow and all that stuff would like have this ongoing lore, things like that. Movies wise, yeah, it maybe not as much, but Marvel movies always continue that sequence. And they know that. That's why Marvel movies are the best like selling action movies out there, because they continue a storyline, but you want to come back because you aren't sure. Like you're 90% sure how Endgame is going to end. You know the good guys are going to win, but you need to verify that. That's why you're still going to buy a ticket, and they're really good at that. Even when they, it seems like they're making crappier and crappier movies now. I don't know. I don't know. It's outside.
Yeah, I don't spend much of my time at all, unless my wife asks me to go out to a movie date, watching movies or TV for that matter. But from what I remember when I used to, which is not that far removed, but yeah, it was that way. It's Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad's a huge example. I loved Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Those are like my favorite, and that's super basic. Everybody says that's their favorite. Those are like my favorite TV series.
Well, they're really good with the Zygarnik effect too, of just leaving that, like they do that subtle foreshadowing of, like, you know, I forgot what it was, like Walter White, right? He leaves the gas mask out in the New Mexico desert. Like he leaves like a subtle trace of his operation. You're like, oh my God, that's going to be important later. So you got to come back and see how it's relevant, right? There's always just something out there dangling that's like a foreshadowing thing that you want to see how it plays in. So that's probably why it's so heavily watched like that, because it has all these like Easter eggs that you got to pick out as it goes. But it targets your anticipation, which do you know which chemical in your brain is released from rewarding anticipation?
Rewarding anticipation? I can't remember. No.
It's the obvious one. It's the
Dopamine?
Yep, it's just dopamine. It comes from anticipation, actually, of an award or a reward, and not satisfaction. Most people get this wrong. You think that your brain rewards you getting satisfied. You think satisfaction is it. The dopamine release comes right before you get satisfied. It's when you are like craving it and somebody is about to hand it to you. That's when you're like, oh my God, this is happening to me. Not that it happened or that you have it. As soon as you actually get what you want, there's no increase in dopamine. It's already happened. It's very subtle, but that's why when you think about the problem, this changes the perception. Netflix doesn't have to give you closure. It just has to dangle it in front of you to have that 5-second timer for you to just give in to the next episode. That's how they increase their watch retention, why more and more episodes get watched. As Nicholas says, I'm not a Netflix person. I like Tubi, even if I watch a movie. Or YouTube. Yeah, they're doing YouTube and Tubi. They're all doing the same thing basically. They've taken Netflix's like best selling strategy and just copied pasted it because it works. TikTok does a similar thing where they make it so easy to just go to the next video. I think they just made that, like, didn't they make an auto scroll feature? I think Instagram did it actually.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say Instagram's been working on the auto scroll feature, which is wild to me. Like it's gonna them communities going nuts about that right now.
The unemployed. The unemployed friends are, it's gonna be roused for them. Yeah, that's why they place, you know, top 10 in the US today on the homepage of your desktop, or because social proof, right? Like stuff in your news. The Apple I always get Apple News notifications. I swear to God, I turn them off every time and my phone keeps pinging me like political stuff, whatever it's gonna be. It's just like they dangle that in front of you. It's like you're missing out if you don't know. That's that human thing, right? That keeps us coming back to social media. But Netflix has an entire, most of you don't know this, they have an entire psychological insight team. So employees hired specifically that are like psychology PhDs that publish internal papers on engagement design, almost identical to what industry do you think is similar to the way that they're studying the brain?
It's gotta be like something to do with consumerism, like clothing, maybe.
Think about reward. What industry takes advantage of people wanting reward?
Dude, it's like a lot of
What degenerate industry?
gambling.
Yes. So identical to gambling research. Casinos studied your brain in the 1960s, decades ago, and they monetized it very well. All their games are set up that way. Netflix just digitized the slot machine and put it in your living room. Because if you think about it, if you enter Netflix, watch a show, quit out of the app, and then reopen it, that show's not going to be in the feed anymore. It's going to be in like you're currently watching. So something's going to replace that, which is going to refresh your entire allocation of feed. So basically you're resetting the slot machine, and they know that because it's exciting. You don't know what's going to come up on your like For You page next. And so every social media kind of does that in a similar way. Facebook, you hit the refresh button, it's all of a sudden completely different. Instagram Reels, you don't know what's going to come next. So this goes deeper than just thumbnails, right? And the autoplay. I'm going to blow your mind real quick with some data. Netflix doesn't just, like, they track everything. You don't think they're tracking these things, but they track the timestamp of every pause. So how long you've paused to know, right? If it says, are you still watching, if you've been paused or watching long enough. They know when you're distracted, when you're on your phone, when somebody comes in the room and you're talking to them, even if they can't hear you, they know that it's been a while. Rewinds, so they know what parts of the movie or show excites you. Abandoned episodes, they know your boredom threshold, essentially. The device type, so your mood actually changes if you're on your laptop versus your phone, right? I don't know if you're working on, if you're casually sending messages on your phone, if you're on your computer working, that's a different type of like focus mode I'm in. Time of day, if you're binging late, you're probably more emotionally vulnerable. So they know they can get away with showing you like more, heartfelty things versus more like documentaries maybe during the day when you're in work mode. And here's the kicker. Netflix patents, sorry, I said patients, reveal that they've tested their technology analyzing facial expressions and voice tone through smart TVs to measure your reactions in real time. Smart TVs, a lot of them you don't realize have cameras in them. It's a little scary. And they can actually record your reaction or pick up sound, right? Because you can talk to your TV remote. So the same remote is broadcasting a signal, whether or not you know it, and Netflix has access to that information. So if you're talking, Netflix is listening to you. It used to just be Alexa or Siri. Now it's everything. I actually have the door closed, or Alexa would have probably just turned on because I said that name. That's beyond your therapist. That's mind surveillance, essentially. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I've never had it brought up to me that they watch live reactions to what you're watching. That's insane to me. That makes me feel unsafe. That makes me start thinking about all the things, which is just watching TV. But I'm like, have I done anything sus in front of my TV? Are people watching?
Well, your TV most likely doesn't have. It's like the newest ones have some of that functionality, but most of the time it's just your remote. Unless you bought a TV that you know has a camera.
Even then, though, I've watched Netflix like a ton of times on my phone, and my laptop has a camera too. So that's crazy. I mean, whether or not they've been integrating it to other devices for longer, that's still insane. Like, I don't understand how that's allowed. I think maybe you're going to talk about that in a second. Like,
because, well, generally people don't care. People want the recommendations. That's at least what they put out. I'm sure if you polled people and told them exactly how they're collecting information like this, you'd get a different response. But because they ran with some early information in the 2000s that people are like, oh, I don't mind the inconvenience of it capturing data if it helps me figure out what I want to buy. They took like the same stat and just replicated that to, it's kind of a slippery slope to justify everything that they do. I mean, too, look at I have a webcam on my computer. If I'm watching YouTube, which I do on my computer sometimes while I'm working, or have something playing, it knows like whether or not I'm staring at the screen or looking somewhere else. And they actually get that data. That's data that that's being fed to them. Your therapist, right, again, just is a person that can only guess your mood. And Netflix runs biometric level experiments in your living room. A/B testing. Are you watching this or that? If you watch this longer than you watched this last week, are you on your phone more? Why are you on it? It's figuring all this stuff out behind the scenes. And therefore, my point, I would like to say, stands as valid. So you said basically, is that allowed? Is this like propaganda? Is this like, how did they get this to be like this? Well, this kind of effect of us giving up control for a lot of these things and just kind of giving in, especially being so vulnerable to the technology to begin with, all of this mind control, right? Propaganda it's not new. Do you know what gables are? They were propaganda back in the day used by the Nazis to mask who mastered repetition, right? Phrasing, symbolism, and emotional hooks. That was their like specific type of propaganda. The MK Ultra experiments by the CIA in the 50s literally tested how to break and rebuild your mind with stimuli that were supposedly ended in the 80s, but you tell me. The Tavistock Institute of the UK pioneered group behavior manipulation using media. And they did studies essentially describing how the wording of videos or the way that a script is written, the certain words within the flow of different sentences can all affect the way you interpret data and therefore how you react to it. Now, combine that history with modern AI to do the research instead of having a person sit down, and personalization, meaning you can customize it to any specific person and they're all different. Netflix isn't just giving you shows, it's running millions of micro experiments on you daily. So it's essentially MK Ultra with popcorn that's sold as an entertainment package.
I don't even know what to say to that, man. I feel like every day that at least you and I talk, I learned something new that's not even a new concept, but that's already been happening that I'm like, dude, how did I not know about this? This is good. The viewers get to see a raw perspective.
So I always bring up, like, I got negative information. I saw that, I don't know if you've seen the post of like the guy he said like, red meat is terrible, red meat is good. And then like he posted the statements on Twitter and like one of them blew up, one of them didn't. The one that said red meat's terrible blew up, right? Because negative information, like But he did that with like 5 different sayings. Just because misinformation, sometimes if it is misinformation or just negative information, is usually paid attention to more than positive, because we're wired to protect our state of being in the environment. If we see a bear coming, we're going to react faster than if we saw a cat coming our way, typically, because we're seeing a threat, and that drives action usually. Why does this matter? And why does our perception of these things matter? And I always start with those negative ideas, and for the same reason too, because I want you guys to be aware, so that way I can help you guys take action. I guess I'm manipulating you guys in the same way that this is, but we kind of all are. Attention is currency. And I've said that on the last podcast, but the ones who own it and know how to own it rule. It's not a bad thing to get people to pay attention to you. In fact, I'd argue that that's kind of the foundation of any good venture. Nothing works unless people care or even know it's in existence. Netflix, what do you think they're measuring? Like, at the end of the day, they're a company. What do you think they measure their output in?
Dollars, revenue.
Most companies do. But Netflix actually primarily drives their growth on hours. So how many hours do they own of your time? Same with TikTok. Billions and billions of hours are given to TikTok every day. Apple owns billions of hours too. How much time are you spending on your iPhone versus anything else, really, right? Like a different type of device, video games. If they don't own your attention, someone else will. So it's not necessary nowadays, because we spend like 60% of our time on a device. If you're not on their device, they're essentially losing, even though you're still basically a slave to a device. As an entrepreneur, as a builder, and as a leader, you need to study the playbook that's being used on you right now. You need to understand the rituals, the triggers, the emotions, and the belonging that you feel when you engage in these things, and build systems that elevate people instead of drain them. Because if you can do it and at the same time let people know they're being influenced, then that's the most powerful way. When you do it without people knowing, or to negatively impact people, then that is manipulation. If you do it to, grow people and they actually are conscious of that, then I would say that's kind of empowering. The future isn't about who has the best product. It's about who has the best psychology and attention strategy. So if you don't program your tribe, I would say Netflix would do it for you, or a company similar to that. What do you think? Let's say 10 years ago, how old were you? Were you like
13.
13-ish? Yeah. I was 14. What would you say was the biggest user of your free time? Being like 8th grade. Yeah. When I was my freshman year of high school. So probably outside of school, yeah, it'd be some sort of sport. So we were connected. Nowadays, if you took a 13-year-old and you ask them what are they doing outside of school, it's going to be hard to find the average person doing that as their primary activity. Most of them are even at practice, right? They're checking their phones between between drills and stuff like that. Like it's a changed world, and we can see our attention even at the younger generation just being fed away and away. So it's this trap, and it's got people earlier and earlier. I know for sure, like my kids, I'm gonna have to send them to a bunker basically to prevent them from asking me to buy them a phone when they're like 4 years old, basically. Like it's gonna be bad. So
Yeah, my wife and I have those conversations all the time, because realistically, I'm not that far out. She's not pregnant, but I'm not that far out from like being able to have my first child and start thinking about this thing seriously. So it scares me for a lot of reasons. I think that I'm bringing a new life into this world, and they have to be faced with such struggles that we haven't even fully discovered yet, but are starting to discover. And how do you prevent them from suffering from those things? Simultaneously, I think most generations have thought that, though. It's just going to take being aware of the problems that exist in our society in order to combat it. I don't think the solution is just not having kids, but it's scary, man. It is scary to think about that. But yeah, absolutely not. They got to be, I don't know. Our idea was like, got to be homeschooled, not going to have, like, we got to get rid of our devices so that, not so they don't know they exist, but so that they don't see us on them all the time, because I have an addiction to my phone, and I want my son or daughter to think that that's normal.
it's scary too. And again, you're thinking already, you don't even have kids yet, but you're thinking of the perspective of you're like doing it because you're worried for them. You're scared of what it's going to look like. And I think that fear, again, is driving that action. Fear typically drives that stronger reaction than maybe, like, again, that's usually going to outweigh the voice that's saying, well, maybe they could learn about stuff faster because they have the internet, and they could learn more than I could teach them. Typically, we want to look out for people more than we want to like think that they're going to be as positively benefited, which isn't our fault or theirs, but we typically lean to saying like this could be an issue earlier if we don't combat it first. And again, I think we just had the comment here made the point, like politicians, right? Even the president, people like that, you see them like negative information about anybody that's like important, a celebrity, a politician, a leader, a influencer, right? They spread very fast because we're always worried about that danger factor. And this is a very real danger. Your attention slipping away is one, because you can't, it's not an item you pay. It's not like somebody taking your money in the street. It's something that you like, it's like energy being taken away from you that you can't get back. And once you give that out, once you give away your energy, right? You hear that as like dating advice all the time. Don't give your energy to bad people. But what does that do? What does that train your brain for, like in life, when you're giving away your ability to pay attention, even to care? Let's say it's just your ability to give a shit. How does that change your day to day?
I actually, it's funny you bring this up. I was thinking about that yesterday and today. Because I think my wife showed me a reel, and ironically enough, it came from a reel, but talking about how our lack of boredom is like what they argued was like the cause for us being so addicted to the things we are. It's like, if you think about it, like boredom doesn't really exist anymore, because the second we feel like there's time to be spent, we just pull our phone out and you scroll and you get to look at what's going on online. Or the second we sit down at home, you get your dinner and you go sit in front of the TV. The question that Rue was asking is like, what happened to just being bored and being okay with that, so that the times in which you're not bored are like that much higher for you. Like you get to actually experience.
It's real.
Yeah.
It's like boredom was the real G. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you actually, it's like, because you know what it's like to be bored, like being entertained is actually like that. Oh, this is what it was saying. It was like, it asked if you'd ever noticed how the things you used to consider fun when you were a kid are no longer fun. That's because as a kid, you spent more time being bored than you did doing the fun things, or at least an equal amount of time, which makes the fun things that much more.
The opposite, right? You have to.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you wanted your life to feel amazing, easy, like you made it, what would you have to do right now then?
Easy, like you made it, like you're talking about.
If you want if you want to live the easy life in a year from now, what does that mean now?
I mean, you got to put in the work now. You got to do whatever it takes now.
Like yin and yang. Like there's so many different theoretical ways to describe the balance of opposites. That is just like a pattern that repeats throughout any part of nature. You know, two genders, right, that kind of come together, that produce this effect, that this harmony of a marriage, of like a spirituality, things like this. And we create this two-legged effect of a match, right? You can't have just an easy life without understanding why it's easy, because you made effort happen to produce that ease in your life. And so it's like, yeah, being bored is the perfect example, because if you're not bored, then you are stimulated. And in stimulation, what does that do? It distracts you and it limits your ability to focus. Focus leads to the most productive parts of your life. So if you think of it backwards, that's probably a goal, right? Take away everyone's focus, and label it as the other effect, right? Label it as the good, right? Put the bad in place, and that's how they repackage it, essentially. And it's scary too, because you don't understand it's happening. Like it could be anything else. It could be your money, right? Let's say somebody comes in and, you know, charges you 20% of your income, like a tax essentially, and you can see that leaving your account. You can't see attention leaving your brain, but you can feel the weight of not having what everyone else has, and then taking that out on yourself. And I think that happens a lot then.
Yeah.
But you've been robbed the whole time.
Yeah. It gets you in ways you don't think about too. Like, I don't know, like it's on your watch. Literally my watch buzzes and I immediately expect to go check my phone. Your phone buzzes, you gotta go check the phone. You gotta stay up to date. Like I think it's sometimes in less obvious ways too. So you have to be absolutely, it's almost like even for the obvious ways, you have to actively be thinking about it, because it's to a point now where I think it's subconscious. We don't even choose to give the attention to the thing. We just do it because that's what we have been doing, you know, which is even worse and a better thing for the companies.
You said we don't choose to, can you repeat that?
Yeah, I was saying it's almost like we don't even choose to give our attention to these things anymore, to these vices. We just do it because that's what we've been doing. Like it's a self-conscious.
The question is like, was the point for us to be doing it? Was there intent there to get people to do that? Did it happen by accident? Was there a motive? Was somebody driving an agenda to get us there? That's like, I'd love to know the answer to that. But then part of me at the same time, also says, does it matter? Because even if I knew, right, there's this cabal that's out there that meets and that says we can keep everyone distracted and like low vibration energy, essentially. Again, I sound like a hippie saying that, but I've since realized that that's actually the truth of the world in a lot of ways. Even if they plan that, how does that impact your life? Like, let's just assume that was the truth anyway. Does that change how you get out of there? You know, you're in a slump either way. You can't control what happened to you, just your response to it. And a lot of times it's almost good if somebody was trying to manipulate you, it's actually better that you know, because for their case, because then you get in a negative state. You want to take out revenge. You want to be upset about that fact. And that just makes it harder to like change your mindset, which therefore leads to your ability to change your outcome.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest, so if we assume that, I mean, whether it initially was done to us with malintent or whether it kind of just happened as like a look at this thing we made and then it turns into, oh, we can actually make a lot of money doing this. Either way, I think the bigger blow to whatever entity that's doing this to us is not necessarily revenge or revolting against, maybe I shouldn't say revolting. It's not necessarily anger and revenge against that entity. It's more like not falling for their trick. It's more like doing what you think and deem is valuable with your life, even though all odds are stacked against you by this entity. Like I don't think it's as detrimental to them to have somebody oppose them as it is to just ignore them completely and then spread the word to others that you don't have to fall for this, you know?
You're right on the cusp of something, and I think I know what it is. It's like getting to the point where I think the word is like belief. Belief is the biggest driving factor of anything. I know we had this conversation already, but they're not targeting your attention because attention is necessarily the attention is like the measurement. It's the variable that's being measured, your KPI. But what they're actually trying to target most likely is your ability to believe in something. When you are, let's say you watch adult content and you give your energy there, you are put into this like lower state of being, quite literally, like your body's harmony and your thoughts and your brain just gets kind of nulled, which means that you can't quite literally function at a higher frequency of thinking and energy that you need to be at. That's brought you down, and therefore it gets harder to believe in things when your brain isn't vibrating higher in a frequency. It's not energized. It doesn't have like passion anymore. It's been nulled. It's kind of like shooting up on like an opioid, right? So when you don't believe in something as much, when it gets harder to have the energy behind something, that's kind of correlated, because therefore you're not passionate. You can't be passionate. And therefore what you want to do will never take effect. So what people don't realize is they think like having an addiction to watching that type of content is bad because like it's just taking them away from having like a partner or like things like that. But the real thing, like stuff like that is targeting, or just negative thoughts in your life or insulting language at yourself or just negative moods, right? It's getting at the fact that you don't think that you're capable anymore because your energy is being given out so much, you don't keep it for yourself. And that energy, when it compounds, is the same flame that will lead into like flow states and productivity and putting into reality the things that you thought you could do. Because again, your fitness brand, Ascend, the community, like this podcast wouldn't be here if we didn't in one flow state, but like realize this is something I want to do. We could actually make this a reality. You wouldn't have that conscious state if you were like doped up, right? Like watching porn and like just eating junk food and like in this slur state in a reclining chair, right? You had to have the energy, you had to have the passion to want to do it. And that only came when you believed in it. And therefore you had the energy to back it. That was a really long-winded rant, but that's essentially how to think about it without getting too crazy or crystal like palm reading stuff.
Yeah, I don't think people, I think I'm kind of just saying the same thing you were in different words, but it's almost taken away people's view of themselves. Like, let me just back up. Everybody who watches like their favorite YouTuber or their favorite influencer online, or they see somebody that they admire on TV, huh?
It's Anthony, probably.
It's Caleb Schulke. Whenever I watch Caleb Schulke, and I'm just like we don't even associate them as like being real people. Like they're just this entity almost. And it could never be you, you know? But like behind the scenes, every single one of those people, I mean, maybe they're paid off by higher entities or whatever, but every single one of those people is a person and was a normal person before they just put their time and effort into becoming this influence in other people's lives. And so like there's absolutely zero reason, when the same applies to CEOs, the same applies to entrepreneurs. It's almost like, because just like what you're saying, because we put so much time and energy and we just let it be sucked from us into unproductive vices. It's like we almost can't imagine ourselves or don't even deem it possible, or it's a thought that never crosses our mind that could be us if we really wanted it to.
I think I have the perfect, like, so you have a canvas, like you're a whiteboard and it's perfectly blank. You have all the colors in the world. If you closed your eyes long enough and you just thought about, I'm just going to, like a red Camaro, okay? A red Camaro, if you thought about it long enough in your head, you could eventually figure out, does it say Firestone on the tires? Like, what's the font it's in? Are the rims chrome? Are they white? Are they black? Like what color red? Is it like a bright cherry red? Is it like a dull, like deeper, like kind of magenta red? Like what is it? And eventually, if you think about it long enough, and if you repeat that thought in your head so it stays in your conscious thought, you can eventually pick the exact color out of the thousands of colors it is and put it on the screen or the canvas, and it becomes real. Like that's the most direct way to do it. What most of you don't realize is if you think about the penthouse you're going to be in, if you think about the way you're going to make money in your business. If it's living in your conscious thought, then subconsciously, every action you take is going to lead to picking the right color and putting that penthouse on the canvas. You just don't realize you're doing it because you've like golfing, like playing baseball, like writing, speaking. It just becomes a practice you do in everything else. And you when you stop and think about it at the end of the day, you're like, shit, I didn't even have to think about the color red I picked for the car, and it's matching up perfectly every time. I don't have to think about what I put out in this podcast today, and it's lining up perfectly with my vision for Ascend. It just becomes your reality. I think the best way to it's painting, and everything is like making it from your thought to a reality. Same with your fitness channel too.
Yeah, fitness channel, Ascend, everything, man. Everything we've created. Anything any of you can create. That's the point.
Don't get sucked up in the layer of thinking that if it lives in your head, you can't have it. And therefore you should give into other things that you know can make you happy now. Because you don't see the direct path from that Camaro to the canvas. That's through your hands. That's through your hands taking the thought and painting it. God, I need a psychedelic right now to I feel like I'm like tripping, but I'm very sober right now. I wish I could like visualize this in deeper thought because I sound like I'm almost high right now. But you see the direct route from it in your head to painting it, but you don't see the direct route from fitness coaching, Anthony, in your head to the money in your bank account. You see it, and then you're like, shit, I got to make an LLC. I got to do this. I got to do that. But if the fitness coaching stays in your head when you go to bed that night, when you are training at the gym, then you're still going to get to that end point. There's just more roadblocks in between. I think are you like taking, it sounds like you're taking like a cup and then like dragging it.
I think I activated my other mic. I was just opening and closing the mic case.
Oh, yeah, I think you did. It sounded like a show.
Like my reels to look at. My attention span has been on this too long. I have to scroll.
But TLDR again, one sentence thesis point is don't distract yourself from the fact there's one step from mind to paint on a canvas, but multiple steps from mind to money in a business. That doesn't mean it's not the same thing. It just means that there's a longer time period and more steps. So keep the same vision and just paint it in a different version. Paint it not with colors on a canvas, but with money in the bank account, because the same thought process applies either way. You're going to get a more detailed Camaro the same way you're going to get a more rich life if you think about those thoughts more regularly. And more importantly, if you defend yourself from the negative ones that come in and say, you need to give in to your lust right now. You need to go gamble your money. That's the quicker way to get rich. You need to go day trade. That's going to be better for you. Those are there to weaponize that attention and to pull it away. Don't let that happen. And that's the point I want to make with today's podcast, why Netflix can be so good at this and so distracting for you. And hopefully why you guys can understand that and take advantage to get your life back.
That was incredible. That last point, I love what you just made, because I think that's so prevalent. I think it's so prevalent in the hustle culture today that you have to be finding something to do so that tomorrow you make your first $1,000. Every thumbnail on YouTube, every caption on Reels is like how I made my first million at 19. It's like pushing this idea that it needs to happen right now, when in reality, none of them achieved that. And if they did, it was a shooting star. It was a complete anomaly. It's like opposite end of the bell curve, not how most people do it and not how you're going to do it. And I love that. I love that you brought that up, because it's just like in the same way the phone and the Netflix and like all the things we consider vices.
I hear you. I just looking at
all the things we consider vices suck up our energy. I'm really glad you said that too, that what's that called? Shining object syndrome or something?
Shiny object syndrome, yeah.
Yeah, the shiny object syndrome, where we get so fixated on this, like, oh, I'm going to put all my money in this. I'm going to pay $10,000 for this course so I can teach others how to sell this course because tomorrow I'm going to get a client. Man, I'm glad you said that.
It's not how many things you do, it's which thing you do the best.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
And that is the trap that the people who have gotten rich understand, and why they want to gatekeep that from everyone else, and therefore why it's so hard nowadays to get successful, because it wasn't gatekept before. It was just something that anybody knew. But now when you have because you also that back then didn't have a million things in your face like you do now. So again, I would even argue in the 80s, it might have been even easier to get rich because you didn't have a phone. Sure, you didn't have the networking from it, but you also didn't have the shit in your face. So you can actually use this to get insane amounts of money quickly. If you just put DND on and do what I do and throw it across the room and then turn on some focus music and lock in for an hour. You just have to have the energy and more importantly, the belief that it's going to happen. If you didn't believe that you working for this next hour, Anthony, on your YouTube channel is going to eventually get you to that point, if you didn't think that video was important, you wouldn't put your phone on DND and you wouldn't lock in. It just wouldn't happen because it doesn't make logical sense to you. I'd say you're pretty logical. For most people, they're not going to. The math isn't going to math on that. So your hand is. It doesn't sound like you are.
No, the camera was it was all fuzzy.
If you didn't belief. If you didn't believe your editing was going to be an important YouTube video, even if it didn't get views now, but just for the origin story later in your journey, you wouldn't have made the video. Therefore, to make the video, you wouldn't have also put your phone on D&D. You would have been distracted the whole time. The video would have never gotten made. If you did it, so more importantly, if you believe that the video is important to your channel, phone would never matter. And therefore you would never get distracted and the video would get published. So look at it backwards. The fact that your video got published today means that you also care and think your channel is going to make it. So look at those signs, those micro signs, as signs that you've already made progress. And don't think that you've just lost this entire journey. You've done some things right, but just recognize where you've gone off. I've started LLCs and then a month later quit because I just didn't see it happening. But in reality, I just picked a different shiny object. I did the right things by believing so hard that I paid the money to make the LLC, but then I gave up. I did that right. It's not like nothing worked. It's that you were working and you got to find this common denominator of what's pulling you away, which is usually your Instagram algorithm telling you something else is better. And don't let that happen.
Yeah, that's exactly the dilemma. I mean, it's not really a dilemma. It's not that difficult for me to continuously put out these YouTube videos, but it is kind of hard. Like I literally laid there. It was like 11:30 on, I think, Saturday night, because I've spent the whole day like filming for shorts, filming for this YouTube video, and I just didn't like how it was coming along, using chat to help structure my thoughts, making scripts. And by like 11:30, I still hadn't finished the video. That's why I posted it late. So I had to do it yesterday. But I was just sitting there thinking, like, why am I like, I'm doing this so that maybe 50 people can see this video. That's the crazy thing. I just spent like 8 hours making this so that maybe 50 people can see it. And they're all just my friends and family from my Instagram. I wouldn't say it was a turning point, but I did catch myself and I was like, no, you're not doing it for the views you're getting right now. Like, you're doing this because this is what someone who runs a successful YouTube channel does. You're going to continue and you're going to put this video together. So I woke up the next day and I finished it. And
Why did those people watch you?
why did the 50 people watch me?
Yeah.
They believe in me. It's,
Why do they believe in you?
I think most of them is just because they're my parents or like my friends, but
There's still a reason they like chose to stay.
A couple of them,
Why do people stay watching your videos?
I think it might be because they want to see the progress, or they want to see how I'm video by video. I know that's the motivation for a couple. Then
There's a reason someone starts watching your content and your journey and stays watching it. If they knew, if next week you stopped doing YouTube videos, would they still would they continue watching all your other old videos, or would they go find someone else?
I'll probably go find somebody else. I would say.
Okay, so why do they keep watching your videos when they come out?
They're new. I don't know what
because they think they understand that you believe you're going to keep posting, and they think this journey is going to continue. If they knew the journey was going to hit a brick wall, they would stop caring because they knew it had an end to it. They don't know where your story is going to end. We talked about that with Netflix. We talked about that with any cliffhanger episode. That was the beginning of this podcast. They don't know what's going to happen next. So they're following you to see what that next phase is, especially because your life is unknown. So you are the cliffhanger. But they wouldn't stay around if they didn't know if they knew there wasn't a next episode. So if on this episode you portray like you're at the end of your journey, instead of this is where I'm at, this is the next phase is about to hit harder, it's about to come faster, it's going to be more exciting than ever, that's what gets them coming back. And you see that with all the biggest creators. But more importantly is the fact that you believe in yourself. You believe that the next video is going to be better than this one. And that's what you're selling. That's what everybody is selling. That's what Apple's selling with the iPhone. If you don't sell that belief first, nobody's going to watch your videos. But when you do it right, that is the driving factor that most don't see one layer behind the Apple logo that keeps people coming back every time.
I rarely pass your quizzes, but I appreciate that you frame things in these questions to make me think like that.
So again, once again, another example of your belief in yourself, in the fact that you know that next week, it doesn't matter if it rains or shines or whatever, a video is still going to be you're going to hit post on a video and it's going to be out there. And if your followers that subscribe to you know that, they're going to hit subscribe because they want to see what that is. And they can see that you are more passionate about that than any other creator that's trying to post right now. And so to them, they're investing. Right? They always hear the term, I'm investing early in this video. They're actually investing in their attention in you. They just don't know that that's what they actually are investing something.
Yeah.
So it only works if your belief is the strongest. You are the sun in the solar system. You have to have such a strong burning desire. Sam Sulek, I can tell you, by the way that man speaks, you could tell from day one, he was never going to even think about anything else except being successful on YouTube. His sun, his attraction, his gravitational force was so strong. Anybody that watched his content knew he wasn't going to give up. And that's what made him successful. His belief in himself first, because that's what attracts people in.
That's well said. I can't add anything to that, man.
So anybody, whatever it is tonight, you could be hopefully not, maybe you're running a feet finders or something. I don't know, like something you're passionate about, or maybe you're doing a nonprofit. It could be anything. If you don't believe in that mission, bad example. If you don't believe in the mission behind what you're trying to do, and if it's just a right, look at your work. If somebody offered you an out of your current job, how quick would you be to take it? If it paid the same and it was the most exciting work you've ever done, you would easily give it, because the excitement is what you're chasing, not just the paycheck. So the paycheck could be the same, and you would pick something that was a more fun job. But you're chasing the fact that you believe that this is the most exciting thing you could do. This is your passion for it, and therefore, if you can even trick yourself into believing this if you have to. But if that isn't there, you're going to do what I did a million times and start another LLC or do another side hustle. And you're always going to wonder why you couldn't just lock in on a business and why you were one business away. That's the thing, that's what you're chasing. Okay. So believe it doesn't have to be here yet. It's actually not supposed to be here yet. It's supposed to feel backwards. But if you picture yourself already with 500,000 subscribers and then say that to yourself, people will come, because they know that, like for me, I already see myself with millions of subscribers, and I'm talking the way I would if I had 1,000,000 subscribers. And therefore people are watching me like I do. And they're like, well, this guy's crazy. He's delusional. And I am, but that's just how I'm going to hit 1,000,000 subscribers because of it. Like, it's that simple.
Yeah, absolutely. That's I need to adopt that for myself. I think it's part of the reason I still struggle to like talk to cameras and even know what to say or do. But I think if I were just to align it with what my optimal position was like down the road, that would make things easier for sure.
If you wanted to get in a Formula One car, would you drive like if you were go-karting, would you drive it like an old man, or would you drive it like, NASCAR driver or something like that? Like you would be driving, the mindset you have when you got behind the wheel of that car would be, I'm going to be the fastest one out there because this is who I believe I am. And therefore you'll win races because of it. You'll go up the totem pole, you'll get recognized, and you'll probably end up in a Formula One car, just because your mindset is, I am aggressive. I'm here to win. I'm here to compete, versus I'm just here to protect myself. And I feel like I'm going to get injured. They say that with my ankle injury, right? I rolled my ankle, I broke it before, and I only injured my ankle when I was doing things that I was worried was going to hurt my ankle. Like gymnastics and stuff, I'd only roll it when I was like, oh my God, my ankle, I can't hurt it. But when I didn't give a shit, when I would just like do a backflip to do it, then I would never get hurt. It's because my mindset was, I'm going to land this successfully, and I would.
I cannot add.
So if the mindset is, I'm going to do trend and I believe that it's going to make me bigger, then maybe you do need to do trend. Maybe you just need to just believe in getting bigger and you'll get bigger. Probably not exactly in that game.
I would say, yeah, you can't, there's a lot of work that goes into it. But if you truly believe that you were a bodybuilder, well, what does a bodybuilder do? They train and they eat properly. Then you get bigger.
I like the mindset of like but most importantly, what would the bodybuilder version of me do? Would they stop after 5 reps if they knew they had an easy 8 in them? No, they wouldn't. Like, so even if it sucks, I know I can do 8 reps because the bodybuilder version of me already did 8 reps. And therefore you'll do 3 more. And those reps will be the ones where your muscles actually grow the most. Therefore you'll get there way faster.
If I believe I'm a Discord moderator, what would a Discord moderator do with their time?
That is the question that we should focus on next time. But this has been a wrap, guys, for episode 15 of the Ascended Podcast. Netflix knows you better than your therapist. I think I proved that here, hopefully. And now you know why. If you take this knowledge and you turn it into sovereignty, which is what we try to do with Ascend and all our projects here, join our free community. The link's down below. We'd love to see you there. Anthony, you want to give a plug, whatever you...
Yeah, quick plug. All my socials, pump_para. As we talk about in pretty much every podcast, because it's just so easy to relate somebody starting a new business or personal endeavor to what I do. I'm just trying to make it in the fitness community. I do some fitness coaching. I'm mostly trying to put out some content in there to spread my message that I think physical fitness is like step 1 to remedying this issue of men becoming weaker over time in our society. And that's my solution, is fitness, because that's what I'm passionate about. That's what I know the most about. So I just make YouTube videos and Instagram reels and stuff like that about spreading my message and then teaching guys that don't know what they're doing how to train. So go give it a follow, like if you'd like, but that's what I do.
Thanks for rocking with us, guys. We'll see you next week for episode 16. And as I say every time, I'm rooting for you. Have a great night. We'll see you back.